Tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, and if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. Frank Miller works as a night security guard at an office building in Miami. He's 52 years old, quiet, does routine patrols. And nobody knows this man worked for the Secret Service for 15 years, protecting 3 different U.S. presidents as an elite agent. He left due to PTSD until the night armed robbers entered the building. Brickell Tower in downtown Miami is a 40-story modern office building. The man who guards it alone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. is Frank Miller. 52 years old, athletic build, but tries not to show it. Black security uniform, walkie-talkie, flashlight, scheduled patrols, camera checks, incident reports. Simple, predictable, monotonous. Frank has been doing this job for 2 years. Building manager Carlos Rodriguez had been surprised when he hired him. "Frank, you seem very overqualified for this job. What did you do before?" "I worked in security, federal level." "Which agency?" "Various government contracts. Now I want something calmer." Carlos didn't ask more. His background check was clean, references excellent, and most importantly, nobody wanted the night shift. Frank was a quiet man. He'd make brief shift change conversations with day security guard Maria, greet the cleaning staff, then focus on his work. "Frank, you're very different," Maria had said one day. "How can you stay so calm? Aren't you scared being here alone at night?" "There's nothing to be scared of, Maria. Just need to be careful." "But you seem like you're professional. The way you move is different." Frank had smiled. "I watch a lot of action movies on TV, but the truth was very different." Frank Miller had worked for the United States Secret Service from 1995 to 2010 in the Presidential Protection Division, one of the most elite units. He had protected George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and briefly Donald Trump. He'd flown on Air Force One, lived at the White House, been on protection details for world leaders. He was a counter-assault team member, sniper training, close-quarters combat, threat assessment, emergency protocols, trained for the most dangerous situations. For 15 years, he had a perfect record. No incidents, no failures. The president stayed safe. But in 2010, everything changed during an overseas mission in Afghanistan. He'd gone for presidential visit security. An IED exploded. He lost 3 friends. Frank survived but developed severe PTSD, sleep disorders, hypervigilance, flashbacks. He got therapy, but field work became impossible. "Frank," the division chief had said, "you're a hero, but you can't stay on active duty anymore. I recommend medical retirement." Frank had accepted. His pension was good, he had medical coverage, but he'd lost his purpose. He lived in isolation for 2 years, therapy sessions, medication, nightmares. His wife, Susan, asked for a divorce. "You're not the same Frank anymore," she'd said. "You wake up with nightmares every night. We can't live a normal life." Frank didn't blame her. PTSD destroys relationships. In 2022, on his therapist's recommendation, he moved to Miami. For a fresh start, he found a simple job. No pressure, no life or death decisions, just keep the building secure. Basic. But that night, everything changed. December 23rd, 2024, Monday night. Frank was doing his normal rounds. Only the cleaning crew and a few lawyers working late at the law firm on the 15th floor were in the building. At 1:30 a.m., while checking the lobby security cameras, he noticed something. Suspicious behavior from 3 men in the parking garage, waiting too long, faces covered, carrying heavy bags. Frank's trained instincts kicked in. This wasn't normal. 15 years of Secret Service training had developed automatic responses, threat assessment, situation analysis, action protocols. First step, verify threat. He changed camera angles, zoomed in. 3 males, approximately 25 to 35 years old. Tactical clothing, bulky bags containing unknown items. One of them pulled out a compact device. Electronic scanner. They were analyzing the building's security system. Frank's pulse elevated. This was a professional operation. Second step, alert authorities. He called 911, spoke in a low voice. "This is Frank Miller, security officer at Brickell Tower, 1001 Brickell Bay Drive. Possible break-in attempt in progress. 3 suspects in parking garage with scanning equipment. Units dispatched, ETA 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Was there enough time to protect the people in the building?" Third step, assess capabilities. Frank took inventory. Walkie-talkie, flashlight, basic security equipment, no weapon, no backup, no tactical gear. Against 3 potentially armed professionals. Old Frank, Secret Service Frank, could handle this situation. Current Frank, Frank with PTSD, risked a panic attack, but there were innocent people in the building. He tracked the suspects on camera, movement toward the elevator shaft. They were targeting the 15th floor. The lawyers. Frank made a decision. PTSD or not, he had to protect them. He activated emergency protocol, building lockdown, elevator disable, emergency lighting. He made an announcement over the walkie-talkie to everyone in the building. This is security. Building lockdown in effect. Remain in your current locations. Lock doors. Do not leave until all clear signal. A lawyer's voice came from the 15th floor. "Security, what's happening? We have an important deadline. Sir, please comply with lockdown. Police en route." After disabling the elevator, Frank moved to the stairwell. The suspects would have to use the stairway. 15 years of experience was returning. Adrenaline, focus, tactical thinking. But his hands started trembling. PTSD symptoms, deep breathing exercises, techniques he'd learned in therapy. Control the controllable, Frank. You've done this before. He took position in the stairwell. 5th floor, good vantage point. Escape routes available. Footsteps echoing from below. 3 sets ascending rapidly. Frank put his walkie-talkie on silent mode, switched to police frequency. "Unit 247, this is former federal agent Frank Miller. 3 suspects ascending via east stairwell. I'm positioning for observation and delay tactics." The police dispatcher was surprised. "Did you say former federal agent?" "Secret Service, 15 years. I can handle this until backup arrives." "Sir, do not engage. Observe only." But Frank knew that sometimes observation wasn't enough. The suspects reached the 8th floor. Frank watched from the shadows. Professional gear, communication devices, weapons visible. The leader was talking. "Target floor 15. In and out 10 minutes max. Security has been disabled." Frank realized this wasn't a random robbery. Specific target, specific plan. What was at the law firm? Confidential files, client information, cash? The suspects reached the 12th floor. Frank took action. Frank left the stairwell, took position on the 13th floor. In the emergency lighting, there were shadows available. Tactical advantage. 15 years of muscle memory activated. Movement patterns, positioning, threat analysis, like he was at the White House. PTSD symptoms were still there. Trembling hands, elevated heart rate, but training was becoming dominant. The suspects arrived at the 13th floor. Frank waited in the shadows. The leader stopped. "Something's wrong. Security system disabled, but this isn't normal protocol. Second suspect, maybe automatic response. Keep moving. Third suspect, no, someone's here." This was a professional disabled job. Frank was impressed. These guys were experienced. The leader communicated with his team via radio. "Base, possible security presence." Proceeding with caution. There was an external team, larger operation. Frank whispered into the police frequency, "Multiple suspects confirmed. External team coordinating. This is bigger than a simple break-in. Units 2 minutes out. Do not engage." But the suspects were moving to the 15th floor. The lawyers were at risk. Frank faced a decision moment: wait for backup and risk civilian casualties, or intervene. Secret Service training was clear: protect the principal, eliminate threats. Everyone in this building was his principal. Frank moved into action. As the suspects entered the 14th floor stairwell, Frank maneuvered. He blocked the 15th floor emergency exit. The leader became suspicious. Exit blocked. Someone's playing games. Frank accessed the intercom system, used a mechanical filter to disguise his voice. Building security has been compromised. Law enforcement surrounding building. Recommend immediate evacuation. Psychological warfare. Make them think they're surrounded. The suspects were confused. The leader was angry. This is professional counter-surveillance. Who the hell? Frank moved from the shadows, made a second announcement from a different location. Federal agents on premises. Building sealed. Surrender recommended. Panic in the suspects' voices. Second suspect. This was supposed to be an easy job. Security guard only. Leader, shut up. Someone's running counter-ops. Find them. They split up. Tactical mistake. Frank smiled. Amateur move in a professional situation. The first suspect continued ascending the stairwell. Frank moved to an intercept course. He recalled Secret Service close quarters combat training, non-lethal takedown techniques. The suspect reached the 15th floor. Frank was waiting. Freeze. Building security. The suspect turned, weapon drawn. Frank had already moved behind cover. Drop your weapon or police will use force. You're not police. You're just a security guard. Frank stepped into the light. His posture changed, voice authoritative, presence commanding. Former United States Secret Service. Presidential Protection Division. Drop your weapon now. The suspect hesitated. Something was different about Frank's demeanor. Professional confidence. Frank continued. I've protected 3 presidents. Handled threats you can't imagine. This building is my assignment. You are threatening my assignment. Old Frank had fully returned. PTSD symptoms faded, training dominant. Final warning, drop your weapon. The suspect realized his mistake. This wasn't a normal security guard. The weapon dropped. Frank applied a zip tie restraint, carried from old habit, secured the suspect. He intercepted the second suspect's radio transmission. Johnson's not responding. Something's wrong up there. Leader's voice. Abort. This is a federal operation. Move to exit. Frank reported on the police frequency. 1 suspect secured 15th floor. 2 attempting to escape via parking garage. Professional equipment, external coordination. Copy, units arrived on scene. Frank checked on the 15th floor lawyers. Everyone secure. Lockdown maintained until all clear. A grateful lawyer. Sir, how did you handle that? You seemed like FBI or something. Frank gave a simple answer. Just doing my job. Police sirens echoed through the building. Frank descended to assist with the remaining suspects. 10 minutes later, all 3 suspects were in custody. Professional burglary ring, targeting client files for identity theft operation. Police Captain Rodriguez approached Frank. Mr. Miller, impressive work. Your background check said private security, but this was federal-level response. Frank hesitated. His cover was blown. I used to work government security. Secret Service? Frank nodded. Why didn't you mention this when you were hired? Because I wanted a normal job, simple work, no life or death situations. The captain understood. PTSD? Yeah, tonight was unexpected. Well, you handled it perfectly, like riding a bicycle. Frank smiled. For the first time in years, he felt proud of himself. Building manager Carlos arrived. Frank, what happened? Police said you prevented a major crime. Just security work, Carlos. Nothing special. Nothing special? Frank, you're a hero. The next morning, Frank returned home, feeling different. For the first time in 2 years, he felt accomplished. PTSD symptoms were still there, but he also felt confident. He'd rediscovered his purpose. The phone rang. Dr. Sarah Martinez, his therapist. Frank, I saw it on the news. How are you feeling? Honestly, better than I've felt in years. Tell me what happened, from your perspective. Frank described the entire night. Training kicking in, managing PTSD symptoms, successful mission completion. Frank, this is a breakthrough. You managed a high-stress situation without complete shutdown. Your growth is incredible. But I still had symptoms, trembling, elevated heart rate. That's normal. You're not cured. But you're coping, using training alongside therapy techniques. That afternoon, a surprise was waiting at the building. A delegation from the management company, the police captain, local news crew. Carlos announced, "Frank, the company is promoting you to head of security for the entire building complex. Salary increase, benefits, recognition." Frank was overwhelmed. "I just did my job." The police captain added, "Frank, we'd like you to consider consulting work. Training our officers in threat assessment." News reporter, Mr. Miller, can you confirm your Secret Service background? Frank was uncomfortable with the attention. "I prefer not to discuss the past. Focus should be on building safety." That evening, a phone call from an unexpected source. "Frank Miller?" "Yes." "This is Director Patricia Collins, Secret Service. I heard about last night." Frank was shocked. "Ma'am?" "Frank, your record was exemplary. Medical retirement was necessary, but your skills clearly remain sharp." "Thank you, ma'am. We have consulting opportunities. Training new agents, threat assessment seminars, part-time low stress. Interested?" Frank considered. "Return to the Secret Service world, but in a controlled environment." "Let me think about it." "Of course." "Frank, you should be proud. Not everyone recovers from PTSD to a functional level. You're an example for others." A week later, Frank accepted the new position as head of security. He also agreed to Secret Service consulting. But the most important change, Frank started a PTSD support group for veterans. "My name is Frank Miller, former Secret Service. I want to share a story about second chances. A group of 12 veterans, various backgrounds, all struggling with PTSD. 2 years ago, I couldn't handle stress, panic attacks, nightmares, isolation. Last week, I prevented a robbery using my training. PTSD doesn't disappear, but it doesn't have to control you." Young Marine, Marcus. "How do you balance symptoms with work?" "Therapy, medication, techniques, but most important, finding purpose. For me, protecting people. For you, it might be different." Female Army veteran, Lisa. "Do you still have bad days?" "Absolutely. Yesterday, I had a nightmare. Today, I trained police officers. Both are real. Both are okay." Group sessions became Frank's passion, helping veterans rediscover purpose. 3 months later, Miami Herald article, "From White House to Security Guard, Local Hero's Journey." The article mentioned Frank's veteran support work, PTSD advocacy, community service. The phone rang. Susan, his ex-wife. "Frank, I saw the article. I'm proud of you." "Thank you, Susan. You sound different, stronger. Therapy helped. Finding purpose helped more. Maybe coffee sometime." "Just as friends. I'd like to know this version of Frank." Frank smiled. "I'd like that." 6 months later, Frank stood before a Secret Service training class. Threat assessment begins with awareness, not just external threats, but internal readiness, PTSD, anxiety, stress. These affect performance. Acknowledging them makes you a stronger agent. A young agent raised her hand. "Sir, how do you maintain confidence after trauma?" Frank reflected, "You don't maintain it, you rebuild it. One situation at a time, one success at a time, one day at a time." After class, Frank returned to Brickell Tower, his building, his responsibility. But now it felt different, not hiding from the past, but building on it. Security guard uniform, but purpose renewed. PTSD still there, but managed. Frank Miller, Building protector, veteran advocate, survivor. Still standing guard, but now for the right reasons.